Ross. Now I'm introducing her. Professor Dr. Mehreen from South Africa. Ambassador Mehreen is Global Goodwill Ambassador awarded by the GIA USA, affiliated to the UN, holding dual honorable doctorate in humanity, psychology, education, and humanitarianship. Through our international and local work in education and resource training, Ms. Mia has earned multiple global awards like the Award for Global Academic Excellence Award, as well as the Most Iconic Woman Leader Award, and many others. Dr. Mia is the founder of the MIA program, a program she designed to help every individual to motivate, inspire, and advance themselves to the best version for their life's journey. Professor Mehreen is an NLP master and a CBT practitioner, being an international award-winning educationist and transformational mental health wellness advocate who is passionate about empowering of women and children, youth, and humanity. Professor Mia is the president of Success World One Academic in South Africa, vice president of Y.Y.C.I International UK South Africa chapter, president of Chipako International Women's Council, professor of education at International Intensive University, and professor at the Royal University US. International Research Fellow member of International Professional Member Alliance. She's also the member of G100 as one of the top 100 women leaders worldwide. Awarded the War induction in the Women's Leader Hall of Fame. Global keynote speaker and lecturer. These are among our portfolio of Global Peace Ambassador and online educator. Dr. Mia is an international co-author of 2 amazing bestsellers. She is known to a world audience as a lifelong learner who is a woman of purpose. So, join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Ambassador Mehreen from South Africa. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you, and thank you so much. I greet everyone in the universal greeting of peace with blessings. Yet again, I will apologize, but unfortunately, with the school and with the varsity system, I need to be in lectures because nobody can fit in. But I really appreciate you, ma'am, for the understanding and for all of you who have stayed and who are listening still. I appreciate that and the support. It actually helps us to keep going. It helps me, for example, to know that I was there earlier, I had to leave, and to know that I'm still welcome back. That makes me keep going and keep doing what I do. So I think I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm not going to take too much more time. I'm talking today about something very passionate to me. As my dear mentor, Professor Dr. Queen Elizabeth would know, emotional intelligence is my #1 passion. But today I'm talking about how to manage that emotions in your relationship through using emotional intelligence. And my #1 question I always pose to people, and I'll pose it here again, is are you intelligent enough about your own emotion? Or are you at least intelligent about them at all? Because managing personal relationships is actually enhanced through that emotional intelligence you have. We know that there's people with high levels of EQ that are going to be more successful in their careers, but why not be more successful in your life with the higher level of EQ about you? Career-based can be purely theoretical, it can be purely about what you are studying, but remember, it is also about you as a person. Relationships too are about you as a person. So whilst we're always talking about, and it's excellent to have the discussions about relationships per se, we always equate the relationship to be with other people. What is my relationship with my parent? What is my relationship with my child? What is my relationship with a spouse? What is my relationship with my student? What is my relationship with someone? I pose a question to always ask, what is your relationship with yourself? Do you have a relationship with yourself? Because if you're worthy enough and find yourself worthy enough to have that relationship with yourself as your number one relationship to take care of, then you will want to know everything about you every day to keep enhancing you so that that relationship with you grows to the best level first. And then the best version of you comes up. And when I have the best version of me in front of me, then that is what I will look for in others and what I will try and help others with as well. And that's what being intelligent about me means. It means I'm being aware of myself. It means I'm in control of my own emotions and I'm increasing my ability to cope with even other people's emotions around me. Because within relationships with other people, there's questions we ask ourselves. For example, if you have a child and if you discipline your child, you'd ask yourself, do I discipline my child correctly or not? If you are, having a career-minded spouse, will you ask yourself, can I accept that my partner may be somebody who's career-minded and spends too much of time at work? Can I accept that without doubting the person being at work late hours? Or is that triggering something in me that's making me stress all the time, yet I'm showing support on the outside? These are very important concepts I'm bringing up because these are real concepts. In a world of career-orientated people and couples out there today, we find the imbalance comes up very often. And most often, sadly enough, the difficulties in relationships, especially marriages that I counsel, is that there's not much communication about the true feeling behind something. So, for example, if there is somebody who's out there who's gone to do that kind of work and you work odd hours, you're somebody who's going to be able to be there, but have somebody home questioning why you're there. Do you have that discussion with the person to say, I was stressed, I was worried because I didn't really believe where you were? Are you able to say that without doubt and judgment on yourself? Are you able to say that without somebody else judging you? Are you in tune enough with yourself to be aware that that is something you are going through? Because when you don't express that concern and when you are not able to speak up, especially to somebody you're supposed to be trusting, then what are we doing to ourselves through that? Are you not then living a lie? These are things that we have to ask ourselves to be honest about ourselves first, before we can try to be honest with other people. And relationships is just about that. So when I'm talking about relationships with people, being honest with them is one thing. When we talk about your relationship with yourself, are you honest enough with yourself about you in those relationships? When you have an awareness about yourself, which is the number one key point about emotional intelligence, it means I'm aware of me. I'm aware of even the bad about me. And when I accept even bad about me, then I know the bad about me needs to change to something positive. We all don't like sometimes people that continuously see bad in us. We say, why do you keep critiquing me? Why do you keep assessing me? Why do you keep having negative things to say about me? But ask yourself, do I see these in myself often enough for me to know that about myself at all? Or am I putting up a facade all the time in my relations about other people? The facade is what's giving me a fake happy moment. So I have fake emotions because I want a specific way of perception from people. And my true self gets hidden so that I cry by myself because I don't know me. So you need to have a very clear understanding about all of these different matters, which can then lead to a better relation with yourself and ultimately then the better relationship with other people. That then helps us to know, how do I regulate myself and my relations with the emotions I'm feeling? Because emotions trigger your body reaction too. Emotions are either positive or negative. We know this. And people who experience the positive emotions would generally kind of be happier and more balanced mentally, even if there's a difficult space that they are in. But the negative emotions will fuel your body with almost levels of despair, with stress, with anxiety, and sometimes even depression. And these issues lead to people actually losing control of who they are, which boils down and goes back to the question of you having the relationship with you first. Before breaking down and losing control with the people around you, if you are in control of yourself, you would know these triggers before they even create a reaction from you. You will be in control of whatever triggers are triggering certain emotions in you. And you will understand, if I don't take control of this now, then I'm going to lose it. So you will be able to know this, be aware of it, then regulate it through self-regulation and understanding of you, so that you know I will regulate myself because I know what I'm feeling and I
Michelle,
recognize even what somebody else is feeling too.
good
Because
morning.
that's what, sorry about that. I thought
Yeah.
somebody was speaking to
No,
me.
no, no. Continue.
Okay. So, how people recognize and feel about their own emotions is very directly linked to how they will view other people's emotions too. And that amounts to, how will I feel empathy for the person? How will I ever know whether I need to support the person or whether the person is supporting me? If I'm not aware of how I'm speaking, for example, I will never know how somebody else is going to perceive me. But if I'm aware of how my tone of voice is, if I'm aware of my mannerisms and how I speech is, then I know how to react when people are also using tones, mannerisms, etc. of their voices with me. I then know how to react to these things, whether I need to be empathetic, whether I need to walk away, whatever it may be, but you are in control of that. And not being empathetic to your loved ones and people around you can also be detrimental, because this also has to be addressed. To foster any form of empathy, you have to be able to use yourself as the first person and then understand you and the needs, and then understand the person's need around you. Then you examine ways of, how do I meet what these needs are? So we must question whether we understand our loved ones' needs, whether we understand other people's needs. Now, in my career, for example, I thought success was all about how much I knew and then how much I have to execute what I know. But I learned that over the years, this level of emotional intelligence plays a very big role in how I build meaningful relationships, whether it's in business, whether it's with my students, whether it's my fellow colleagues, whether it's at university levels with my fellow professors, whether it is in life in general. But these are lessons that I learned. And emotions drive everything that we do. When we don't understand our own emotions, or we don't understand emotions of others, it can lead to misunderstandings, it can lead to conflicts, and it can lead to missed opportunities for life that you would not get back. And these are things we need to get it right about. We need to get it right because we need to master emotional intelligence and how it can transform how we interact with the world, because the world is there for us and we are part of that world. How we engage is going to make whether that journey becomes successful or not. So I wasn't always emotionally intelligent. Like many of us, I used to also at some point react impulsively. I used to react impulsively when things went wrong. I used to become frustrated. But it was, when I started practicing this level of self-awareness, that I started to notice how much power I have to shape certain outcomes for myself. And then I could shape the outcomes for other people too. And this is why I say a lot about everything is regarding myself, about me first. If I want a stronger relationship with someone, do I have what it takes to build that relationship with them? So before I have a requirement level from what other people must be with me, I need to ask, do I have that for myself first? If I'm able to be somebody who loses control very easily, do I notice this about myself? Do I know that these things are what the triggers are that make me lose control? And then do I know how to bring it back into control without reacting under a pressurized environment negatively? Because ultimately, everything we say and everything we do is all about response. It's action versus reaction. My action creates a reaction. An action of somebody else creates a reaction from me. And every one of those, action or reaction, actually brings up or stems from your thought, a thought, a thought or a feeling, and something triggers that. It could be something someone said, it could be something you saw, something that you're feeling, but everything is about these things, about you first. When I want to manage things about me, those are things about me. I still need to manage me. Are you somebody who's able to be so in tune with yourself that you can manage yourself in any given situation? Because when I can manage me and I can manage my emotions, I can then manage the relationship well enough. But how am I going to manage a relationship if I don't know how to manage myself in any given situation? Life in itself is always going to throw curveballs at us. Life in itself is difficult, whether you're a student, whether you the professor teaching that child, whether you're a parent, whether you're a guardian, whether you're president of a country. Life is throwing us all curveballs right now across the globe. Whether you're in Africa or you're sitting in any part of the world, there is something going on that's negative in your space. It could just be something negative you see on your phone that triggers a negative emotion in you. What do you do with that? What do you do when something like that happens? When you're seeing negatives around you all the time, it's not easy for you to stay the positive person amongst all of those things. But it is you, ultimately. It's still all about you. Ultimately, everything about whatever you are seeing that is negative around you is within your control to decide, do I react negatively or do I react in a positive way? So other people will act and in a specific negative way. They would say things in a specific negative way, whether you're in a relationship business-wise, whether you're in a personal relationship. These are negatives from other people. However, it is within my control to learn, how do I manage that negativity? Do I know how? Am I emotionally intelligent enough to know that that specific action of someone is creating a negative reaction out of me? And am I in control of myself to know that I don't want to do that? These are what we have to think about very seriously because, like I said, I was never somebody who was so in tune with my own emotional intelligence. That's the reality. I grew into the role of being emotionally intelligent about me. However, sorry, am I still with you? Okay, thank you. So, like I was saying, I said earlier, and I'm going to reiterate this. I always thought success was all about what I knew, how I could execute what I knew. Success was about what people would think about me. Success was always about these things. And then over time, and with every experience that we encounter, every experience comes with an emotion. Every experience comes with something you learn from it. So there's a lesson in everything you go through. Through my various lessons, I learned where about myself I lacked control. I learned where about myself was I not intelligent enough about myself. I also learned how important my own intelligence about my emotions was. And that's what made me develop myself first through EQ. So when I teach about emotional intelligence, I'm actually teaching based on what it did for me. That is why I can say over the many years, I studied it, yes, but I studied to use it for myself. I studied it to make myself better first, to know that it really can work. And I learned that emotional intelligence plays a bigger role in myself first, before it can play its role in my relationships. To build meaningful relationships with people around me, no matter what that relationship may be, I have to be emotionally intelligent about me first. And that is how I learned that everything that I do, my emotions drive that. My emotions drive everything, whether it's a feeling of love, whether it's the feeling of a negative trait, whatever it is. I'm driven by emotions. And when we don't understand our own emotions, how are you going to understand the emotions of others? If I don't understand my own emotions and my actions about them, how will I understand why people react a certain way to me? And if I'm not understanding myself, how will I know how to react about other people's emotions about me? I don't want to miss out on opportunities anymore. I don't want to have misunderstandings all the time. I don't want conflicts of interest all the time. But for conflict and resolution to come into play, for me to have the understanding relationships and for me to have growth in my opportunities, I have to be able to seize them with my positive emotion and my positive mindset. That is the key. To transforming everything and making it right, it's key for me to be in tune with me. I have to master me. So I have to master my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings. Therefore, I will be in control of whatever provokes those. If anything is provoking my feeling, my thought, my emotion, I am in control of how I transform myself to react to those things confidently. Because interaction is all across the world. Right now, we are interacting with each other. Right now, each of us is from a different part of the globe, but we are interacting here. And through this kind of interaction, we learn. So like I said, I was never always like this. And I used to also react, impulsively when things went wrong. I used to also get frustrated and probably still do sometimes. But now the frustration does not control me. I know when it's going to start. I know what my triggers are, and I kind of nip it in the bud before it gets worse. So if I want stronger relationships, and if I want to know how to respond thoughtfully to build trust in my relationships, I have to have a higher level of EQ for myself and those around me. Whether it's a colleague or a loved one, your relationships are going to thrive when you connect emotionally with them. Another very important factor I think people have to learn is how to stay calm under pressure. In any given relationship, there will always be turmoil. And emotional intelligence gives you that level of ability that you have to have in order to slow down, especially when it's kind of like a high stakes situation that you're sitting in. You got to be able to know, when do I draw back? When do I slow down? And here's how I manage my emotion. So you're not going to make any irrational decision. You're not going to say anything that's going to counter what needs to happen. You're going to be more in control of you. And you're going to manage your emotions to such a level that you're going to make sound decisions and you're going to be calm. And the ripple effect is going to be that everybody else is going to stay composed as well. So there's not going to be any negative connotation, even though there's a negative scenario. And that's the whole idea. There can be a negative situation right now. But if 20 of us are going to react in a negative way, how are we controlling the situation? It's going to actually be the situation controlling us. We need to learn that if that is the situation right now, and that is the negative issue that we're dealing with, we all have to stay composed enough, be in control enough to know, ascertain what, why, when, and how, and then react accordingly. That's one of the key ways that we learn how to navigate conflict. Let's face it, conflict is inevitable. It's always going to be there. But conflict does not have to be destructive. Conflict is something that can actually teach us. Conflict is something that is going to happen within yourself. I spoke earlier about your relationship with you. In your relationship that you have with yourself, you will always have conflict as well. There'll be conflict in your thinking, conflict in your mentality, conflict in how you view things and how you want it viewed. But I found that when I approach conflict with empathy, with understanding, and I find solutions through that, then there's multiple respect for myself and for those around me. And this doesn't just resolve issues. It actually helps us to build better connections. So I'm going to pause there and say all of these things that I'm teaching you today are stuff, yes, that's in textbooks. You can find them everywhere. But I teach it because I know these are levels of things that helped me. And I know they work. I know they're workable. They're workable with your network. They're workable with your relationships. And it can build and enhance you as a person. Each time something is happening, you are regulating your emotion. You are in authority of your space. You are in control of whatever is happening. Things don't control you, you control them. So emotional intelligence is not just about being a better communicator. It's actually for me, and I'm going to say this, Professor Dr. Queen Elizabeth, emotional intelligence for me is about just being a better human. Because when I'm in tune with my emotion, I'm then in tune of emotions of others. And then I can create a better, deeper connection with people. I have lesser misunderstandings and I have more fulfilling relationships with the few that I do have. And when I lead with empathy and when I lead with this kind of understanding, then I'm kind of able to inspire someone to do the same. So for me, emotional intelligence is about not just talking it, it's about how I'm feeling, and it's about making me a better human being. So thank you again for having me, ma'am, and for waiting for me to speak. I really am honored to be on the platform as always. YYCI is like my second home. I must acknowledge everyone else on the platform that I can see. I see Coach Talan. Very nice to see him again. Reverend Professor Akpogo, it's lovely to meet you, sir, and to see you here. Everybody else that I don't mention. And I have to say, and acknowledge our senior academician, Professor General Charles. Lovely to see you as well, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Dr. Ambassador Mary Mia from South Africa. Yes, we've been waiting, but it's okay. I mean, you have to do what you have to do. This is a busy period, busy time, busy week. So even some of our leaders that are Muslim at the moment, they are going through their praying and fasting, and some of them have to readjust their weekly and daily life
Yeah.
activities and to fit in their praying time. So that is why we didn't see some of them, but they will be joining us later. I hope they join us before we finish for today. Coach MJ Tolan, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate that. And if you can permit me to quickly call on Professor Akpabio before you, is that okay? Coach MJ Tolan, are you going to stay with us? Since you just joined us, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that, your permission. I appreciate you a lot. Coach MJ has been my coach for how many years now? 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And we've been working along together. So I really appreciate you. My papa, my mentor, my spiritual dad, Reverend Professor Akpabio, you're welcome. So I'm thinking of welcoming you. I tried to call you, but now I'm going to introduce you.